Hello and welcome. My name is Tan, and in today's video, I want to talk about a very common occurrence or common thing that I hear from people, especially people who are not technical related to AI. And what I really hear is that people refer to AI in the singular, so they say things like, "The AI isn't working," the AI gave a bad recommendation. Um, and it sort of gives off this impression that it looks like this, where it's just like some Terminator machine thing in a room, and it's just like a supercomputer, right? Um, and that's not exactly how it works. It's probably actually not close at all. Um, but typically in sort of production environments, there are actually many AI models that are strung together. So it might look something like this. This is just a random example. And the key point here is that you know there are lots of models. That's one, but two, they feed off of each other. And that's very important to just understand that it's a big system because AI systems usually solve a complex problem, and AI systems therefore need to actually work together in order to solve the larger problem. Um, and so that's generally how it is. I mean, you could work at some really small startup where they really just have one model, but chances are they'll be expanding to other models as well. Um, so that's one thing. Um, and you might ask, like, so what? Like, I don't do modeling. I don't know what you're talking about. What does it matter if I say the AI as opposed to AI models, right? And so if you're coming in from the business side, I do think it is important. And the reason why is, well, number one, it facilitates communication. So now that there's most likely multiple models, multiple AI models at your organization, uh, that means that you can ask about it. That means now when you have a question, when you are affected by it, especially if you're affected by it negatively or in some way, and you want to talk to the engineers about it, it's now a lot easier for you to just go and ask them. It's like, hey, like, which model produced this recommendation? They might be a little surprised to have you ask that, but I think it still helps. And the other reason why I think this is helpful is that it helps pinpoint issues, right? So if you know that there's probably multiple models, then that should give you the hint, or not the hint, but like that should give you some context that, like, hey, maybe you need to provide extra information when you are talking about some issue that's happened, right? Um, so when you do that, and because in your head you know that there's multiple models, um, there's ways that you can add additional business context so that the engineers understand what you're talking about. And really, I think that's very important. Is be that just because you're on the business side doesn't mean that you don't play a critical role when it comes to AI and machine learning. I feel like people don't give enough credit to these non-technical people, right? To the people in the business and the users, the people who are affected by these AI algorithms and stuff and whatnot. So I feel like if you are on the business side, um, I I would recommend that you do talk about it, and that you facilitate those conversations. Um, Now, I've been talking a lot about the what does the business do, but actually it's not just the business side, right? It's also the AI practitioners. I feel like as AI practitioners, we also play a role in this, right? But I've also noticed that especially in if you are new to AI and you're just learning, as you're learning, you learn one model at a time. You have one assignment at a time. So you might get this notion in your head that, like, oh, it's just this one model, right? Whereas, like I mentioned, in production environments, it's actually multiple models, and a lot of them. Um, so for AI practitioners, one thing I would actually recommend is that you don't just talk about your one model. If you're looking for a job, maybe you should actually talk about how this model will impact other models, or just at least make subtle hints that you understand that that your model is just one piece of the puzzle of the larger of the larger system. Um, And then going back to sort of to the business side as well, I do think that as AI practitioners, it is our responsibility also to help facilitate the conversation as well. So when people do say things, and they do say something that's incorrect, it's not necessarily condescending to correct them. You obviously have to be polite about it, but I do feel that people are very receptive to education, right? People want to learn, people want to know things. And this is just like a really small little thing. It's just, hey, by the way, there's actually multiple models. It's not just the AI. Um, and I would recommend you give that a try. I would love to hear your feedback on that if you get some positive results where people are a little surprised, but still willing to talk to you. Um, and I feel like that's in the end, that's the most important part about it is to be able to facilitate that conversation and to be able to easily talk about AI. Um, and that really brings me up to my next idea. My next idea, I want to talk about how to talk about AI. I've gotten some really great feedback from you guys. Great, people have said some great things to me one on one, so I really appreciate that. Um, so if you guys have any other suggestions, I'm definitely open to suggestions. Um, and if you want to hear about how to talk about AI both from a business side and from a technical side, let me know. And so I'll make a video on that. All right, guys. Thanks. Bye.